right in. Can you all see my screen? Okay, I got a thumbs up. Okay, so we're here to land jobs in tech, whether we have 0 experience or 10 years of experience. So welcome everyone to New Job Accelerator. The first thing that we're going to talk about is an elevator pitch. So to get us started, I'm just going to go ahead and introduce myself, and we're all going to use this as a model to introduce ourselves in the future. So, hi everyone, I'm Melinda Kohler, founder and CEO here at Roadmap. I've been in education and tech for 20 years, previously co-founded Almanac, now valued at $120 million. I reverse engineered the job search process, and I'm excited to be here with all of you and land our next job. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment, and we're going to play a little game. You can just shout this out if your video is on and your mic is on. Does anyone remember anything that I just said in my elevator pitch?
The valuation of the company.
Do you happen to remember what that was?
I think it was 20 million.
120 million.
120 million.
Somebody else remembered it. Amazing. Okay. Anyone remember anything else?
Almanac.
Great.
Founder.
Fantastic. Anything else come to mind?
Education and tech.
and tech, 20
For 20 years.
20 years of experience.
Okay. Wow. This is like an amazing room. We're absorbing so much information. The reason that we do this though, is that it's just one of us hearing someone's elevator pitch. It's kind of hard to absorb stuff. So we're going to master elevator pitches together, but we're also going to remember that the big point is to give someone they can remember. So let's just take a quick look at the structure and then we'll put this together ourselves. Okay, so the elevator pitch that I just gave you defined 2 areas of expertise and the time that I had been in it. It also had that key result statement. Almanac valued at 120 million. So this is, I said, tech and education, and I said for 20 years. Here I said co-founded Almanac, $120 million. Then I passed it off to you so that I reverse engineered the job search process. I'm excited for all of us to get jobs together. In your job search, you would say, and I'm excited to learn more about your product management org or whatever it was, right? This is the structure of the elevator pitch. Any thoughts on why we lean into areas of expertise versus industry or past job title?
You want to promote yourself and not your company.
Okay, I love that. Yeah, that's such a good point. Any other reasons why we might start with areas of expertise? And there's a lot of reasons, so that's one of the reasons why I like to ask. But any other thoughts on we're introducing ourselves to someone for the first time, who could be a referral, could be someone who might want to invite us to an interview, just who knows. And we want to talk about areas of expertise.
Those can be relevant to multiple things besides your current role or industry.
Exactly. So if you are a software engineer targeting new software engineer roles, then it might actually help to just specifically say software engineer or business operations if you've had that title. But if, like so many of us in the room, were pivoting careers, go in and find what are those areas of expertise that I'm really good at that are also common in my target title, and just say those. When you lean into areas of expertise as a career pivoter, you are no longer a career pivoter. If you say, let's just say you were a cost estimator in construction. That was one of our common career pivots. And you come in and say, I've been in the construction industry for X number of years, working with lots of subcontractors, nobody gets it. But if you say, I've been working with processes and multiple stakeholders to deliver multi-million-dollar projects within a year, everyone's going to listen to you. So we're going to start thinking about just that quick 20 to 30 second introduction and how we can quickly say, oh, you and I are aligned. Also, I did this thing that you probably care about. And I'm building a relationship with you. I'm excited to learn more about your role, your organization, whatever it might be. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. We're going to do a little bit of practice here in the main room. But any questions about the elevator pitch before we do a little bit of practice? Okay, great. So we're gonna just do a little bit of practice here in the main room. If you're up for it, just really, we're just gonna say hello, but lean into the elevator pitch structure as much as makes sense for you. I'm expecting that it's gonna take all of us a couple of weeks to really identify our areas of expertise and key results. But let's just see if anyone is up for it. So Kara Moore would love to learn a little bit more about you.
Sure. I have been in research and data for 10 years, and recently I have secured over 400K in funding for research, and I'm excited to learn about everyone else's areas of expertise.
Whoa, okay. Anyone remember anything about Kara?
She's worked in research and data for over 10 years.
Love it. Anything else?
$400,000 for funding.
Boom. Yes. Honestly, if I were in the room and I hadn't thought about my elevator pitch and key results for the past 10 years, I would be intimidated. I kid you not, we will all get to the point where we have some great things to state in our pitches. We'll do a couple more. If I happen to call on you and you're not ready, you can just say pass. It's not a quiz. It's just for those of us who are here and want to practice to maybe get a chance. So we'll take a couple more. Let's see. Sarah would love to learn more. No. Okay, not today. Great. Appreciate it. Annika, did I say that correctly?
It's Annika, but I do also know an Annika spelled the same way.
Okay. Would love to hear about you if you'd like to introduce yourself.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Annika. I have been in data center supply chain and program management for the last 3.5 years. Recently, I've led a sustainability and material optimization initiative that saved $50 million over the course of the program. And I'm excited to learn more about everybody's future goals and job search.
Does anyone remember anything about Annika?
Sustainability initiative that saved $50 million, which is amazing.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so this is the point. You lead with something powerful, people are gonna remember it. Actually, before I dive into other reasons why this elevator pitch is so important, any questions so far now that we kind of went through it a little bit? Okay, great. So if you can be here today and you're listening to this elevator pitch and you're thinking, yeah, that's something that I would be able to do. Good news, you can master every stage of the job search process. The entire job search process is kind of like that elevator pitch, just different forms of it. So we're going to take a look at that. Here's the job search process that we're going to be going through. We are going to work together to land networking calls, specifically with people who can refer us. So everyone who's been sitting in the room and emailing us and posting in Slack and to me on LinkedIn saying, well, should I join? I've applied to 50 jobs, 100 jobs, 200 jobs sometimes, and nothing's happened. Well, nothing is going to happen. For every 250 resumes, statistically, 4 to 6 people are called back. Cold applying is simply ineffective. Doesn't mean it never works, doesn't mean that it's not a tactic that we use, but it's not the only tactic that we use. The big tactic that we use is going out and talking to people. Then as we talk to people, we're using that elevator pitch to build a relationship. They get excited about us. And then at the end of that conversation, we reflect back to them their own elevator pitch and use it to ask for a referral. So I might say something like, wow, Annika, everything that you've done in sustainability and saving the company $50 million, you're the kind of person I would want to work with. I noticed your company isn't hiring anyone right now, but you know what I'd love to do? Send you my resume, a little note, and it'd just be great to talk to a recruiter at your company to find out a little bit more about the hiring process. Annika, what do you want to say to that? If that actually happened to you?
I would say, sure, happy to forward you.
Boom. Yes. So your elevator pitch is a dual tool. You are using it to get someone excited about you, but you are actively listening in every conversation. just to give someone back exactly who they are, reflect back that power, and ask for a referral. I'm not expecting any of us to start networking right away. We actually use our first 2 weeks to get our career assets together, get our elevator pitch going. That said, if you're ready to network, do it. Then we're going to learn the full process in 4 weeks. And at that point, your job search process is going. And I do recommend continuing for the next 4 weeks, the same networking and interview materials that we will be practicing together. So it's a full 8 weeks, but we do the first 4 weeks here in community, and you will still have the option to join us to continue practicing in our live sessions. So back to the process. You're using your elevator pitch to get someone excited about you and your networking call and to land a referral. You're then sending a follow-up email, essentially with your elevator pitch and a little bit more about you and your resume to get the referral and just talk to someone in recruiting or to a hiring manager. Some of us might be at the point in our career, we're not saying I want to talk to a recruiter, we're saying, you know, really be great to just talk with your head of product about the product org. Hear what you guys are working on this year. That's a great way to ask for a referral too, and just talk to a hiring manager, whether they're hiring or not. Then you get to the phone screen. Your elevator pitch is actually how you want to introduce yourselves in a phone screen interview. Anyone have ideas about what might happen when you walk in and you lead with, and I helped close funding for $400,000?
They'll ask you about that directly.
Yes, exactly. So today is just our very quick run through of the full process so you understand what we're getting into. The reason we start with elevator pitches, and we're going to be practicing these every week, is because it's the most powerful piece of the process. In your phone screen, just as we just heard, if you introduce yourself with a strong elevator pitch, that recruiter is going to ask you about it. So you actually have a lot of power to direct an interview. You're not just sitting there at the mercy of, oh my gosh, what are they going to ask me? However, we will also review together the top 5 interview questions they ask in a phone screen so that you know how to ace each question. We will be doing that. Once you get past that recruiter screen, phone screen, Zoom screen, whatever it happens to be, the first step, usually a 20-minute call, you'll get into the interview process and you will hear all sorts of interview questions. All of you today, all of us here in this room, we're going to start training our brains to treat each interview question like a mini elevator pitch, which means we give a tiny bit of context and a key result, and then we answer the interview question. I don't care what question they ask, it can be answered with a key result. And we're going to get so good at that we can just, our value, we're just showing it all over the place. Value, value, here's why you want to hire me. They're going to get so excited because you're going to have a good answer for everything. Just last note on interviews for today. The challenging piece of answering every interview with a little key result statement first, or that elevator pitch, is to not just hear interview questions literally, and even more so, to not hear interview questions in terms of what our big fears are. We're all sitting there and we're like, oh, they're going to find out that the only work I've done to raise revenue was in a nonprofit, and then they're not going to want to hire me. And so then they ask an interview question and we start to give these disclaimers. Well, I did do this thing, but actually it was in a nonprofit and it wasn't with Salesforce. It was this tool that's similar to Salesforce, but I could learn Salesforce. And they're just like, what are you talking about? Right? So we lead with a strong key result. We don't take questions literally, and we don't answer questions in terms of our fears, just in terms of our strengths. When we get to final interviews, it's really about reflecting back on what we've learned to show that we have vision and we're ready to start the role. So it's sort of the flip side of that elevator pitch, that listening and reflecting back that we just did. And then we negotiate the offer also by putting relationships first. We'll talk specifically about how to do that. Use powerful language that puts people at ease, but also hold ourselves at the negotiating table. The fact that you will at that point have done your elevator pitch like 100 times, it's going to come very naturally to use a little bit of new language to just get that negotiation process really solid. So this is our job search process that we're going to master together over the next 4 weeks. and it starts with a networking call. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And our first step today is going to be career direction. So that's where we're headed. But there's a lot to review. So I like to just check in. Any questions so far?
I had a question. Do you recommend preparing different elevator pitches so you can sort of choose the best one that you think is applicable for that situation, or what they may be looking for or hiring for?
Great question. So the deliverables that we're going to be working on through this program, one of them is to identify your top 5 key result statements or your top 5 KPIs. You should have 5 at your fingertips throughout your job search so that you can sub in any key result on the fly as you learn about someone, do the quick scan of their LinkedIn profile for a few minutes before you get on a call. So yes, absolutely, you will want to customize those, but you'll be able to do it so easily and quickly because you're already familiar with giving your elevator pitch. And just by the way, I know I'm going through and making sure I'm asking everyone to start your video. Some of you are declining, which is fine. I can't keep track of how many I'm asking to start. So if I've asked you more than once, apologies. Great questions. And there's going to be a lot more time for questions as we go throughout this program, but that is essentially the job search. If you can show up today and you get this idea of an elevator pitch, you're gonna be able to land a job. Okay. However, I will say that in order to get started with this first step of the job search, this networking call, we do need to know what we're networking for. So we do need some career direction, right? So let's talk about that just a moment. Where does career direction come from? A lot of you already know exactly where you want to go next. If you're not quite sure, these areas of expertise can help define that for you. So what we want to do is identify our areas of expertise, our true superpowers, and then we research them to identify job titles that are a fit for us. So we're just going to walk through the process and then we'll talk about how to identify those superpowers. That's the real fun part here. But to identify your career direction, you're going to research your superpowers. In fact, we'll just demonstrate that. I'm going to stop. Well, no, we'll demonstrate that in a moment. If I stop sharing my screen, we'll get all over the place with tabs. Let me go through the process, then we'll demonstrate. So you're going to research your superpowers on LinkedIn. Your superpower can be anything. It could be empathy, it could be intuition, it could be organization, it could be process optimization, it could be saving money, whatever it might be. You're going to enter it into LinkedIn and then enter the name of a tech company like a Google or Apple or Amazon, just a company that has a lot of people at it. And you're going to search by people. You're going to scroll through, you're going to open profiles, you're going to look at backgrounds, you're going to review job titles, and you're going to find job titles that are interesting to you. As you see these job titles that are interesting to you, start to make a list of the top 5. Maybe this will take you a half hour of going through profiles. Maybe it'll take you 10 minutes. Maybe you already know a little bit about what you want to do and you're just kind of verifying. You're like, I know I want to be in customer success, but like, what are the specific job titles? Who do the leaders look like? And you type in customer success, Google, and just get a better idea of how to define yourself. That's fine. But once you have 5 that are interesting, just go and take a look at job descriptions for those roles. And look at the first bullet points. If you can speak to the first 3 bullet points, you can target this job. It's not only important that you can speak to it and say, oh yeah, this does relate to some of my experiences, some of my results. Ideally, you want to find a result you've achieved that's related to a bullet point on the job description, but you also want to make sure that it's something that you want to do. If you get there and you find out that you're just going to be building dashboards with metrics all day, all night, and learning SQL, and you're like, I don't really want to do that, then move on to the next one, right? After you've done this a few times, rank the bullet points, and then you'll identify the job titles that you're fit for. For some people, there are big breakthroughs immediately. For some people, they do this exercise a couple of times. They do it once after week 1 and then again during week 1 and then maybe again during week 2 and then they hit on something. Also, job search isn't linear. So one other thing that we do with career direction, if we say you get to a point where there's just like 3 or 4 or there's a lot of confusion, we do have a job titles quiz. And you can also check in with each other, and you can also just run your first 3 networking calls and learn about the roles from other people and then see how it feels. So that's always a good tactic to lean into. Go and talk to 3 people in those career fields and see how you feel about the role afterwards. So this is career direction. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and pull up LinkedIn so we can just see how this might look. But then we're going to talk about the really hard part, which is just what are those superpowers, right? So let me, that said, if anyone has, actually, does anyone have an interesting skill or thing that, we'll just do a quick little game. There are 3 questions that we like to ask to help us identify who we are. So I'm just going to pose one and then we'll see if anyone wants to answer it. So what do people ask you for help with the most often? You don't have to think about this too hard, just something people ask you for help with. Anyone want to answer that? Rebecca, go ahead.
How to use technology.
How to use technology. Okay, why do they ask you for help with this?
Well, because I'm an instructional designer and I'm just a technology geek. And so if there's something that somebody doesn't know how to do, usually I'm the first call because I can tell them how to do it pretty quick.
Why?
Because I am passionate about it. I love getting into things, seeing how they work. How can I make it work to its maximum efficiency? Because a lot of people typically don't use things but to 10% of what it can actually do for you, which that's why you want to use technology to get the most out of it. And so I want to turn it. I also want to see if I can break it. That's the other side of it. Is, you know, especially I've vetted a lot of products for companies, and a salesman will sell you things that don't necessarily exist, and you don't know that until you've gotten into it and tried to break it, turn it around, and see what it will actually do. So,
okay, that's
my superpower, technology integration.
Yes, and there's honestly, there's so much there. We'll just take a quick from the crowd. Does anyone remember anything that Rebecca just said? Anything stick out?
Passionate about technology.
Great. Anything else? Helping people. Oh yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
I liked your answer that she can explain to people how to do it pretty quickly so they can get the answer they want straight away. Everyone likes those people.
Yes, so helpful. So the exercise that we just did is an exercise that you all should go out and do this week. I'll show you the exercise in a moment. There are actually like 5 different questions that you can go through, but the key is to ask why 3 times to help you or the person next to you really unlock their superpowers, and just understand more about who they are and what they might be good at. Okay, so this is a total experiment. There are a lot of different, hold on a second, I'm trying to do the LinkedIn exercise. Just a moment, let me share my screen. I've got tabs all over the place. I won't do it. Let's see, adapt, new technology. Let's try that. And since it already has technology in the word, we're not even going to put in Amazon or Google, and we're just going to go through and see profiles of people and what they do and what their backgrounds are, if there are any titles that come up. That said, Rebecca, do you already have thoughts on what titles you would want?
Oh, sure. Yeah, be either, you know, instructional design or user experience design, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be. Those little things would eventually get back to user experience design. So at that point, it's a little bit easy. If we weren't talking user experience design, which is already in itself a job title, but let's just say it was empathy, because you can listen to people and help them understand how to use technology. let's just do the experiment with that word, because for a lot of us, we're not going to get quite to the exact job title in tech. But well, yeah, you type in empathy in Google, you see VP of UX at Google. But that's an interesting profile to then go and look at and see what past job titles did they have to get them to that point. Just give it a chance to load up. And again, it's one of those things where we spend 20 or 30 minutes doing it. Yeah, my LinkedIn takes forever to load when I'm screen sharing. So just a moment, I will let that load and we'll come back to it. But once you do, so you never know, you're not going to just necessarily type in a prompt and then the first person you see is going to say, oh, I never thought that I could get a start with interface design. I never considered that. You know, you might not see something new and you might have to keep digging and go through a few profiles. But this one already, we're seeing a lot of different job titles related to UX, visual designer, interface designer, interaction designer, creative director. So if we were a person who didn't know that UX was a career field for us, we might have a lot of ideas and titles to work with just from that single profile. That was a total experiment. We're all going to go through it at our own pace and discover fun new things about career fields out there in tech. But to do it, we want to make sure we really are thinking a little bit more outside of the box about our superpowers. There are common misconceptions that the only skills that matter are hard skills or technical skills, which just isn't the case. So I am just going to go through the prompts that we should all be working on this week, and we'll do a couple more right here live if anyone is open to it. But a couple more questions. So what was the one time you thought a project would fail? And then you ask why? What is the one thing you should have gotten a raise for that no one knows about? What do people ask you for help with the most often? Or the most fun project I ever worked on was, here's one that I really like. If you had to sell someone on a new job skill in 3 minutes, what would it be? If you could get a $1 million salary doing any work, what would it be? Now, the fun part is to ask why after every single one of these questions, and then literally ask why 3 times. It should be downright awkward by the time you get to the third why. You're just like, what? You're going into the ethosphere, way off into the universe, and you're figuring out new things about yourself just live in conversation with someone. So I'll throw out one more question and we'll see if anyone wants to go through the exercise. If you can do that live in front of a group of people that you just met today, that's absolutely incredible. So totally fine if no one is ready. But let's see. If you had to sell someone on learning a new job skill in 3 minutes, what skill would it be? See if anyone wants to volunteer, or I'll just call on someone and see if they're ready. Let's see. Willie Lundy, if you had to sell someone on learning a new job skill in 3 minutes. No? Okay. We'll try one more. Let's see, does anyone want to? Oh, I see a hand raised. I don't know if that was for a question or for this exercise. Yeah, Christine, if you had to sell someone on a new job skill in 3 minutes, what would it be?
I would say storytelling.
Ooh, why?
Because at the end of the day, it doesn't, of course, like your job skills really matter and like doing your job really matters, but it really matters more how well you convey to the people that matter, like what you've done and how effective your skills are. So if you're not actually able to like explain that process well, then people don't value your work. So I actually think it's a really underrated skill, is to be able to like tell the value of your work in a compelling way, because like anyone can write a report, but not a lot of people can make it like something that people connect to. So that's something that I would say is worthwhile skill.
Why is it underrated?
I think because it's like, it might be seen as like a nice to have versus like a must have when it comes to developing a job skill. Because like when you say you're a developer, like, oh, I need to learn how to code. And yeah, you can be like a great software developer, but if you can't explain that your process to like a business person or like a stakeholder or your project manager or your product manager, and they don't understand your process or what you're doing or why you're doing it, then there's a breakdown in communication.
Why is a breakdown in communication?
Why is the
Why is
breakdown?
breakdown in communication a problem?
Because then your team isn't on the same page. Nobody knows what the other person is doing. Other people don't understand the value of what you're doing. And you're just kind of like coexisting in the same space, but not actually knowing like why you're all working together or what you're even working on.
Amazing. So many things just came to mind. I just took very quick notes. There are a lot of different keywords and skills and things that we could research that came from that. But I am curious, Christine, do you have thoughts on where you want to go next in your career?
Yeah, I would love to work in UX research. I currently have, my area of expertise is like clinical healthcare. I'm an occupational therapist by training. And I'm currently working as an apprentice on a UX research team, I suppose. And that was something I learned recently. Like I was able to kind of like bullet list points, like kind of the research findings we had and like some insights we had, but I actually found the way I did it like incredibly dull. And I was like, I need to find a better way to do this, to like present my findings in a more interesting and like more compelling way. And I don't think I really fully realized like how much of a skill that was until I realized how boring my insights were the way I presented them.
Okay, amazing. A couple things there, just so for everyone. We just asked Christine her areas of expertise. One, she said clinical healthcare, but then also user research. So big correction for all of us. Clinical healthcare is still like an industry. It's still something that pigeonholes us. So Christine, think more about your area of expertise. It might be storytelling and user research. It might be user research and identifying needs. Go back to when you do your career direction exercise, since you already know where you want to go, your job is to look at 5 job descriptions, look at the top 3 bullet points, see how they're describing it, and find the top 3 areas of expertise that you're going to plug into your elevator pitch that everyone who hires for user experience, user research is going to, oh, she's been doing that and that. Okay, great. Well done, by the way. Does that make sense to everyone? Actually, yeah, let's go back and just redefine and make sure that we're all crystal clear on that piece of the elevator pitch and how it relates to career direction. So we just got some great ideas from Christine on superpowers, but remember, superpowers specifically relate to career direction. So if we're targeting a new field, I should say, if you're looking to stay in healthcare or clinics, then you'd want to keep that area of expertise. But if you're looking to get out of that, then you want to plug in a word that is more transferable for any user research role. Are you looking to stay in the clinical field or get into other areas of user research?
I'm looking to go into other areas of user research, and I particularly think it would be a good fit if I went to like a health tech or a digital tech company, which is why I guess I've been leaving that in my elevator pitch, just because I've been told it usually takes quite a bit of time for people not coming from healthcare to like understand the systems, and that is of potential value to people hiring in those fields.
Absolutely love it. Then yeah, you can say health tech instead of clinicians, and then you can be specific when you get there. But just to clarify how well this process works, Jesse Moreno joined our community, and he's actually one of the few people that, well, he had been searching for a job for a year before he joined us. He joined very, very early, as you can see, because he got his job in September 2021. However, that June, up until June when he joined us and then got his job, he never once thought he would get into tech or just pivot directly into health tech, but he did. And he did it in 7 weeks of joining the Roadmap community. So he did his accelerator, he continued his job search, he landed a job. It did not matter that he had 0 experience in health tech. It mattered that he understood that to be a director of field operations was the same thing of being a director of retail operations for all of those years in his career. But that fine work that we're all going to do this week of going through and first saying, okay, what are my superpowers really, in a very human speak, not just, okay, SQL, but like actually going and looking at people at Google who share the human stuff, organizing, understanding users, how to help people use technology, empathy, intuition, negotiation, whatever it might be. Who has those job titles? And then what do those job description bullet points look like? How do we qualify ourselves for them? And how do we take those job descriptions and reflect them back in every conversation? Oh yeah, I'm actually really experienced in this and that, and I achieved this result that's probably really important to you. It's just that elevator pitch over and over again, right? In a few different ways. So this is the big thing that we are working towards this week. Just, hey, who am I? What am I good at? How does it relate to tech? For those of us, again, who already know what we want to do, please still go back and research the job descriptions and qualify yourself. Your job search is just going to become so much easier. And for those of us that are starting at the top and we're not sure, go through it, maybe go through it a couple of times. And when you get to certainty, please let us know. And if you don't get to certainty, also let us know so that we can address it in next week's session. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we'll see if we have any questions that popped up. Any questions so far? We've done a lot already. And if not, we'll continue on what we really need to conduct and be successful in this job search and why we're doing all this career direction stuff. Okay, like feeling pretty good here. We're gonna keep going. So we have a process to get through. To get through that process, we will need a resume. We will need those job titles. We will need those key result statements. And then actually to Christine's point about the skill that she would teach, we would need that whole story, which for us starts with an elevator pitch, but also turns into our story that goes on LinkedIn. It's like a little networking blurb that we put out all over the world. So these are the 4 things that we need. Good news though, everything that we do and talk about here tangibly helps move our job search forward. Nothing is busy work. So let's just go, all of these things are things that we need: resume, job titles, key result statements, story. They all come into play at different points in the job search process. So I want to actually go back to the job search process and ask a couple questions for clarity to make sure we all know where we're going. Any thoughts on what we need to conduct a networking call and land a referral?
LinkedIn, we need a network to start with. 6 degrees of separation, right? You might know one person, but they may have that connection at the job that you really want to get.
Amazing. Okay, yeah, so we need, okay, yeah, right along with resume is also an optimized LinkedIn profile. So true. Yeah, and then I see some, so in fact, I'll stop sharing my screen so we can all see each other. So we need to be on LinkedIn. I also saw that we need an objective, which comes back to the job titles. What do you think the most important thing is to land a networking call with someone who might be able to refer you? And actually, let me just go back and share my screen to those things that are most important for a job search. And I'll phrase it a slightly different way. To just actually get someone to say yes to a phone call with you, what is the most important thing here?
Your story.
Your story. And I like to say this because honestly, your resume, it's important, but it's not nearly as important as all of us think for landing interviews. There are people who join the program and they've spent sometimes so much money on their resume. And then they kind of, I spent $1,500 on my resume with the best resume person and I'm not landing interviews. Like, okay, well, what does your story look like? And then also, does your resume, is it actually industry optimized? And actually most of the time it's not, but we'll get to the resume piece. But just that story, which is very similar to the elevator pitch. So I'm gonna pull up, just so we all know what we're going towards. Why is Melinda making us go and look at 5 job descriptions and research people in tech and answer some silly why questions? I'm going to show you why. Because next week we're going to piece together how that helps us write a story that can lead to networking calls that looks something like this. My name is Jimmy. I'm a community health worker turned film professional. I've been helping organizations work cross-functionally and find their audience for the past 7 years. I did this key result, 200 plus partnerships to help grow local viewerships to 5,000. So you can see the structure of the elevator pitch ingrained in Jimmy's story. You also see that even though he mentions this very transparent mental health worker turned film professional, I immediately think I'm talking about something else, digital products, cultural. His dream job was product marketing, and he got all the way to final round interviews with product marketing. In fact, I have to catch up with him and find out what's going on. But this story essentially landed 65 leads. Probably like 20 of them are for the roadmap community, so count that or not count that, but it's momentum. Everyone who likes it, comments, shares, reposts, again, even just a simple like, is an open invitation for you to reach out. Hey, really appreciate you stopping by my LinkedIn profile. I saw you liked what I said. And it looks like you've been doing this thing at this company. I'd love to chat for 15 minutes and learn more about what you're doing over there. Just something as simple as that. Low stakes asks. Oh, you liked what I did? Hey, I like what you do. Hey, we should chat. Almost as if the relationship organically should just exist. You don't have to go and say, can I get a referral? Can I do a networking call? It does not need to be formal, right? But so this story that you're going to post on LinkedIn, and that is also going to become your LinkedIn about statement. And that is, you're going to post it in a lot of other communities. You're going to all want to join 10 communities where you're going to post your statement. You want to be in 10 very active communities. And that statement alone is going to drive networking calls. I kid you not, in our cohort that we launched in January, as of week 4, someone walked into the room and said they just got a new job. And then like 50 other people raised their hands and said they were in interviews because they put their story out there. So it does work even in today's climate. So keep that with you. And we're going to pause because we've gone through so much material. And I want to talk to you a little bit about roadmap and what these 4 weeks are going to look like for us. First thing I do want to talk about is, hold on a second, I think I'm all over the place with slides today, everyone. It is a case of the Mondays, but we are all job searching together and we're getting through it. Your deliverables this week, they're simple. I'll send you an email with them, but it's do the superpowers exercise, identify your target job titles, and defend yourself against those bullet points in the job description to make sure you are qualified. So it's those 3 things. This webinar is the free version of the roadmap experience. We made a big decision at the beginning of the year when we saw that hundreds of people were interested in our program to just make it free. But it now means that instead of us running cohorts with like 15 to 20 people, in fact, we have at least one person here from those previous cohort days that were very small, where everyone went into breakout rooms and practiced. We changed the format so we could have all 70 of us, 81 of us in a room together. So this is our free cohort experience. If you want recordings for the session, then it's just $29.99 a month. So you show up today with all of us, you find out the tactics, you find out your deliverables, and then you go for it. If you want to follow along, you do also, for free, you log into your roadmap account, and there are some really good free resources here for the steps of the job search you can kind of go through. Highly recommend, though, if you can, it's $29.99 a month. You can watch all of the recordings and you can just go through the full job search with our product, walking you through each stage. It has extra video tutorials, tips, best practices, step by step. This is actually a full 10-week program because there's a lot more in it. We're going to go through the most basic things in 4 weeks together to get all of us started. Ideally, get all of us to the point where we know how to land networking calls, how to land interviews, and how to ace interviews. Every week, in addition to our cohort meeting, we have live workshops. $29.99 a month. Come join us and you'll get to come to resume and live feedback sessions, office hours, key results, power jams, whatever it might be that is happening. And we make sure that all of the sessions that are happening are specifically to practice each stage in the job search process and make sure that you have what you need. So I'm making this loud and clear because in our last cohort, we did not. And then people got to the end and then said they did not know about this $29.99 a month where they could get all of these extra materials and recordings. Do what you want, do what's easy for you. You're with us for this journey and this is just the extra thing. If you want those extra materials, they are absolutely there. I'll drop the link if you are interested. We do also offer resumes. Oh yeah, Rebecca, go ahead.
So if we flip over to the paid version, and my husband's actually in it too, that's how I found out about this. Do we switch or do we, sorry puppy, do we stay with you for 4 weeks and then start the 10 weeks or do we just convert to
You
a
stay
different?
with us, you stay with us for the 4 weeks.
Okay.
And then we continue the sessions in the live workshop calendar. Yeah. So it's sort of like, for some of us, we might look at it as a 4 weeks. I want to see where I can get to on my own. For some of us, we might say, 4 weeks, I want to automatically have access to the recordings, the best templates, Melinda's time, knocking on the door at office hours, whatever it takes. We'll make sure you get what you need. We just can't offer that to like hundreds of people all at once. So yeah. Or we can if we're paid and then we go and hire the people to help us do that. But you know, we're a startup as well. So great question. Any other questions? Okay.
Hey, Melinda, sorry. How does this differ from the cohorts that started in early January? Because I think there was one today at 5 o'clock.
Yes. So the cohort that started in early January is exactly the same. They had the exact same deal. All the webinars are free. And then $29.99 a month for all of the free sessions. We just had to cut it down to 4 weeks because we ran a survey with everyone in the 8-week free session. And their feedback was just like a little overwhelming. And 8 weeks of free sessions was too much for people. They had a lot of complaints that they were coming back every week for 8 weeks. And they literally, people just wanted to do 4 weeks. So we said, okay, we'll make the free thing 4 weeks. And then for people who are still in their job search, I don't actually understand the complaints because it's free. I'm like, well, don't come back. But 150 people are still coming. And in the survey, a huge percentage of them said they want the program to be shorter. So we made it shorter. Yeah, it's as simple as that. I'm a very scrappy startup founder. I take feedback very seriously and I want to build the best products and products that make sense for people. And I think 8 weeks is just an intimidating amount of time for people to think about a once a week commitment. So yeah. Great questions. Any other questions? The program is the same program that I, as the founder of Roadmap, have actually been running for a year and a half now. And we're seeing just the most astounding career pivots. So one of the other things too, if you wind up joining on the full access, that we will do is, as we get to know you, we will want to connect you with alumni in the community who have done similar journeys to you. Actually, yeah, some of them just pop up in my search. Lexi Lynn joined us to go from her sort of career in product, make it look like a solid career in product, and then land her senior product manager role. Most of our community is like much bigger career pivots. very few of their profiles still make it look like they were career pivoters. Carla went from teacher to tech, and you can see like she did not do anything to optimize her LinkedIn profile because her blurb, the little story, got her 8 networking calls, which led to 4 interviews, which led to 2 job offers. Other people like Janola, you would not even know that she was a teacher. Though I have a video of her specifically saying that, hey, if I can lead a classroom of 30 people, I can certainly lead your process. And so she did. I mean, you can see online instructor, but she was actually a classroom teacher. And she just really optimized and retold that story. Yeah, people from all sorts of industries joining us to break into tech. So as we get to know you, where you're coming from and where you're going, chances are there's somebody that was just doing a menial payments job and now they broke into cybersecurity. Or like Agata, who she has a fascinating career. She joined us when she was a learning and development specialist, and in 10 weeks she landed an offer as senior learning experience designer. I asked her how she got her promotion to lead in 11 months, and then she moved on to get promoted to product manager. And she said, everything that we learned here about those key result statements helped her in her new job. So like the really fun part is that you're learning how to do these key result statements so that you can do this simple thing of, initially building out that elevator pitch, right? But it goes from that elevator pitch, and it actually, the tactics that you're going to learn are going to stay with you for your entire career. You're going to be tracking KPIs every month in your new job. So this is just sort of an onboarding to how you're going to think about your career for the rest of your life. It's just a slightly different mindset. I did this thing and I did it why. So yeah, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I want to make sure if anyone came in with high impact questions in your job search, big challenges that we did not get a chance to ask, whether they're related to today's material or not. Okay, I see some questions that were direct messages, but might be helpful to everyone. Someone had asked if we could pay for multiple months at once, or is it only month by month? If you want to pay for like a half a year or a year and look into a discount or something, just message me. Right now it's just set up as $29.99 a month, and it's just pay as you go. It's a monthly subscription, but certainly talk to me if you want something else related to that. Yeah. Any other questions, like not even just related to the roadmap methodologies or offerings, but for job search stuff? Any big challenges, questions that you came in with that didn't get answered? And if not today, we'll definitely get a chance to answer them next week. Okay, well then we'll just take a quick question. What I always like to ask, oh yeah, go ahead, KB.
I just found out about this today, like a few moments ago. So will the same thing be happening on March 6th?
Unclear, only because Roadmap is a small growing startup and we're about to enter into some contracts to do pilot programs, and I just don't know how many we're going to be doing. So if you can make it for all of these sessions, I highly recommend it. Most likely we will, but I just don't know for sure. Shell?
Hi, I'm sorry. I came in late and I'm still at work right now too. So I just wanted to get some clarity up on how it moves forward. And I'm sure you had explained it early on, but I missed it. But so today is the first session, correct? Okay. And so moving forward, how does that work as far as like, so are we able to attend for the first 4 weeks? And then after 4 weeks, we pay the $29.99? I'm a little confused.
Yeah, absolutely. That's correct. Yes. First 4 weeks are free. You can attend for 4 weeks. And then if you say, okay, now I'm thick in the interview process, or my gosh, I'm still networking and I need the support from this community, then $29.99 a month, and we continue the program for each week of the job search. So yeah. Does that answer your question? Does that clarify? You can pay $29.99 right now to get access immediately to the videos, the templates, the step-by-step. You can pay anytime. You can attend every week for free if you'd like, and then make your decision.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And then the question that I always like to ask to help all of us just get centered on the highest priority action item for our job search. And I'm going to share my screen. We all know our deliverables this week. We are identifying our superpowers. We're defending ourselves against job descriptions, and we're saying yes to the job titles that we're going to target. We're identifying those target job titles. But I do always like to ask so we can prioritize. 2 questions. Does anyone have a networking call coming up? And I'm just going to take a moment to see if anyone does. Got it. If you should, oh, Tamara, you do. Did I say that name? How did I say your name?
It's Tamara. It's okay though.
Okay.
You know, people have different ways. Yes, I have one coming up tomorrow.
Okay. So I like to ask this question. Does anyone have any networking calls? And the other one I like to ask is, does anyone have any interviews coming up? Got it. Networking calls and interviews are the highest priority actions that drive our job search forward. Everything else counts. It gets us to those 2 actions. We're talking to someone on a networking call or on an interview. So interview would be highest priority. So Lo, what stage of the interview process is this?
I'm in the middle of one process with one company, so I'm waiting on the next interview to be scheduled, and then I am doing a phone screen with another company early this week.
Okay, great. For the phone screen, you really just need your elevator pitch and then look at the job description and write a key results statement, a little elevator pitch style for the first 3 bullet points of each of those. Also, when they ask about salary, which is after you're going to have already built rapport, you're going to have your elevator pitch. And we're going to go through this step by step, but just as the quick notes, I always like to give the quick notes. When they ask about salary, do you already have a tactic for how you manage that?
For the most part, I've got a couple of different options. I am in Colorado, so I do have the luxury of saying that they have to give me the salary. But yeah, I for the most part have a good response there.
Okay, cool. Yes, the government says for a lot of states that they have to. We're never actually going to lean into that because it doesn't help us build a relationship with the recruiter. They know, I know, and I'm not saying that you actually would. It's just nice to know that you have the luxury. Okay, so you're already set. For everyone else, if you're like, what is the dying to know? One tactic, there are many, is just, I'd like to learn more about the role so I can give you an accurate number. What do you have budgeted? Simple, simple, simple. Just want to make sure we all have that in our toolkit, just in case we wind up on a call with a hiring manager or a recruiter and they're like, well, what is your salary? You say, you know, I kind of want to learn more about the role throughout this interview process to give you an accurate number. What do you have budgeted? Okay. Tamara, who is your networking call with? What is their job title?
Senior software developer.
And what roles are you going for?
Junior software developer.
Okay. The most important thing that you need for this, we already talked about. But at the beginning of the call, remember, you're doing your elevator pitch. Then you're queuing them, hey, I'm curious to learn more about your background. And then I do want to talk about, you know, what you look for in entry-level software engineers. Here's elevator pitch. You ask your kickoff question. So what do you look for? What does stand out to you and, you know, the best entry-level software developers you've worked with? Some kind of kickoff question. But your goal is to get them talking. Just keep asking questions, keep them talking for just like 10 minutes. And at the end, your networking call really only needs to be 15 to 20 minutes. It can go to 30, that's fine if you agree to it. But the most important thing is at the end, no matter what they have said, you do just what we did today. You reflect it back to make it sound really powerful and ask for a referral. So it's as simple as just, I don't know who's still here, that it's as simple as this. It's just like, Christine, learning more about your approach to storytelling and what you've done in a clinical environment and your ability to just kind of translate that tech into user research. You're the kind of person I would want to work with. And then you have two choices. There either are open roles or there aren't. I know there aren't any open roles right now, but now that I've learned more from you about the company, what I'd like to do is send you my resume with a quick note and talk to one of your technical recruiters just to learn a bit more about the hiring process. So every week we're going to get here and we're going to just ask, hey, does anyone have a networking call or an interview? And we'll do the quick notes. We'll make sure you get what you need. That said, this week is career direction. Next week, it's those career assets, making sure our resume, LinkedIn profiles are ready to go, our stories, and then it's networking, and then it's how to ace interviews. So that is our program. We are at our hour. So many valuable things today. Any last questions or comments as we wrap up?
Is there a way that we can connect with the other people in the cohort to like maybe find an accountability buddy or something? I'm not sure.
Yes,
It might already.
are you in Slack?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, hold on. I will. So in the job search support channel or the Hangout channel, if you're in Slack, and we'll get a channel going for our cohort, but definitely go and post, say, hey, looking for accountability buddy for week 1 deliverables. Someone just did that even though they were in like week 4 of the last cohort and someone still met with them to do the exercise. If you're not in Slack, let me grab the link, copy invite link. Definitely come join us. There it is. Amazing. Okay, I can't wait to hear what comes from this week. Just thinking through job titles, superpowers, job descriptions, and I will see you all next Monday. Have a great week, everyone.